Hi everyone, in today's video on the Hittites we will briefly discuss the reign of King Suppiluliuma I. The rise of Suppiluliuma began during the reign of his favourite, Tadhalia. Suppiluliuma acted as his favourite's trusted military advisor and successful general during the campaign to reassert Hittite control over central Anatolia. However, upon the death of Tadhalia, Suppiluliuma was not to become the new king, and instead his brother, known as Tadhalia the Younger, was to become king. Though before this could happen, a military coup occurred, which saw Tadhalia the Younger assassinated, and Suppiluliuma placed on the throne as king in circa 1350 BC. His reign would last 28 years. With Hittite control over Anatolia secure for the time being, the new king's focus shifted towards Syria and their old rival Mitanni. The new king launched an invasion into the heartland of Mitanni, which brought the Hittites to the very gate of Mitanni's capital city, Wasuk-Ani. Unfortunately for the Hittites, it soon became clear that the king of Mitanni, Tushratta, had fled the city and remained elusive. The Hittites therefore turned their attentions to Syria and conquered nearly all the cities there and deported their rulers and families back to Hatti. The only city in Syria that remained under Mitanni's control was Carchemish on the Euphrates. Not surprisingly, soon after the Hittite army withdrew from Syria back north, presumably to deal with problems caused by the Casca, Tushratta returned and started a new campaign of attempted reconquest that would last several years. Ultimately, Tushratta would be murdered by one of his sons after Carchemish was taken by siege in circa 1327 BC. The once powerful kingdom and empire of Mitanni from this point on became a mere protectorate of the Hittites until its eventual collapse. The decline of Mitanni would also encourage the rise of the Middle Assyrian Empire as a new power within the Near East. With the taking of Carchemish, Suppiluliuma made his son Shari-Kush-a king of the city. With this move, the Hittites made it very clear that no longer were they merely content with using the old method of control through a system of alliances and vassal states within Syria. The old Syrian policy had resulted in several rebellions or vassals switching sides. Now Hatti asserted direct control over Syria through the new governor of Carchemish, with the city acting as one of the two centres of Hittite control in northern Syria, the other being located at Aleppo and governed by another son of the king. This new development and spread of direct Hittite control over Syria and the subjugation of Mitanni brought Hatti closer and closer to their largest rival in the Near East, Egypt. In fact, during the siege of Carchemish in circa 1327 BC, Suppiluliuma received an extremely unusual letter from Egypt. The letter, which was written by the Queen of Egypt, requested that the king of Hatti send one of his sons to Egypt so that she could marry him. This act of marriage would effectively make the son king of Egypt, and Egypt would become a part of the Hittite Empire. Suppiluliuma, who was utterly surprised and very suspicious of such a request, sent an envoy to Egypt to confirm if the offer was legitimate. The Queen, somewhat angrily, confirmed that the offer was indeed legitimate. Upon this confirmation, Suppiluliuma sent one of his sons, Zananza, to Egypt. Though his son was apparently murdered on his journey there, it is speculated that the murder was committed by Egyptians who, after learning of the Queen's incredible offer, would not allow a non-Egyptian to become king of Egypt. They therefore had the man murdered before he ever reached it. Tensions between Hatti and Egypt would remain high for many years after this event. Suppiluliuma, who was grieved and angered by the murder of his son, launched an invasion into Egyptian-controlled regions in southern Syria. During this campaign of vengeance, many Egyptians were taken captive and transported back to Hatti as prisoners and slaves. Unfortunately for the Hittites, it appears that these captive Egyptians brought with them an unknown disease that resulted in a deadly plague being spread through the heartlands of Hatti for the next 20 years. The Hittites apparently believed that this disaster was a divine judgment on Hatti for the murder of Tadhalia the Younger by Suppiluliuma and his followers. Apparently, Suppiluliuma himself was also struck down with this deadly plague, which brought about his death in circa 1322 BC. This king's axe would, as we will see later, be the foundation upon which many important events would take place later in Hittite history. Though until then, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe for more new videos every second Friday.